13 years in my marriage, over. 13 years in my tech career and laid off. I lost my childhood best friend of 20 years to cancer within 3 months, and 2 kids to provide for on my own. I also was living in a new state with no friends and no community during a global pandemic. I was struggling emotionally. I was stressed financially, and I was wondering why. What am I going to do? Does anyone know how it feels to hit rock bottom? This was mine. When my best friend of 20 years passed away, I asked myself, if this was the last day of my life, would I feel fulfilled? Who feels like they would feel fulfilled if today was the last day of your life? I know I wasn't. And they say, before you level up, everything gets hard. Everything falls apart, not to break you, but to see if you're ready to go to the next level. And they also say that you can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. And I was on the same loop for decades, my whole life, in the same 9-to-5 career, climbing the ladder, chasing the promotions, only to reach the ceiling. Living in the same state of rainy Seattle, Washington, waiting all year for 2 months of sun, and living in the same unhealthy marriage, repeating the same cycle over and over. So when my best friend passed away, I told myself I wanted to do something different and get out of my comfort zone. So I went and searched, and the answer came from the most unexpected place, Instagram. Who's here because of an ad that they clicked on Instagram? Anybody? Okay. I had no idea that that one decision would change my entire life. That one decision gave me freedom, freedom of time with my loved ones, freedom financially, and freedom to travel the world whenever I wanted, wherever I wanted, and freedom to speak across the country, which brings me to this exact moment on this stage, in this room, with you. Anyone who wants freedom and to make a lot of money with the least amount of work and least amount of time, give me an amen. That's exactly what I Googled when I was searching for a better life. And the answer was Airbnb arbitrage. I clicked on an ad that I saw for an Airbnb mentorship. I was fascinated by his lifestyle. He was traveling the world and working just a few hours a week and in his 20s and became a multimillionaire. And I thought, wow, I want to do that. But it didn't seem like real life to me because I was from a small town in Seattle, Washington. But I applied for the mentorship thinking I would never hear back. But I did. And I was so excited when I got accepted. But there was only one thing. It was $35,000. And I had never spent one penny on a mentorship at that point. I had never even been to one networking event. So you're further along than I was at that point. But something in my gut told me to say yes. So I did. And I met up with some friends and I said, hey, I just joined this Airbnb mentorship. I'm going to try to learn to make passive income. And they said, oh, that's awesome. Tell me about it. How much was it? I was like, $35,000. Listening to myself say that out loud. And they said, oh, excuse me? I thought you said $35,000. How much was it? $35,000. Yeah. Are you insane? Are you out of your mind? What are you doing? What if it's a scam? And I almost got convinced. But I had already wired the money from my Bank of America account $35,000 to a complete stranger on the internet. And I kept to myself and went all in. I didn't tell anyone else after that. And it's crazy to think that one decision of saying yes led to $68,000 a month with Airbnb, working a few hours a week, and surpassed my tech salary 5 times. So when I got laid off, I just never went back to corporate. And I didn't just go to YouTube University. I hired a coach from day one. Have you ever heard of a professional athlete that makes it to the Olympics without a coach? And the same goes for business. When you're learning to start a business, when you hire a coach from the beginning, you avoid so many expensive mistakes. You learn so many industry secrets that you wouldn't have learned. And you higher chance of success. And going all in, he gave me the support that I needed, and I ended up getting 4 properties in that second week of that coaching program. So it's all great that you're all here today and spending your weekend with us, growing and learning. But if you go home and you don't take action, then it's almost like you're just here watching a movie. So the key is, whatever you learn, you want to make sure that you go and take action before you leave this room, because I know how it is too. You know, I love my conferences and networking events, and it's so easy to get inspired in the moment, but that's the real thing, is to leave and make sure that you move forward after. So this was one of my first Airbnbs. I had no experience. I did the Costco runs and set it up, and it just shows you that anyone can do this. I had no real estate experience. I didn't even know what arbitrage meant. So, I was able to create this by learning this exact system. Does anyone do Airbnb here? Oh, wow, that's awesome. So it sounds easy, right? You get a house, fill it with a bunch of furniture, put it on a website, and make money. But it's actually not that simple. And I'm sure you've heard a lot of things about Airbnb, everything from, oh, it's amazing, to Airbnb doesn't work, Airbnb is dead, Airbnb, you can't make money with that. But the thing that differentiates the people that are successful and the ones who aren't are the systems, the process, and the design. Because the numbers don't lie. Airbnb generated $91 billion just last year in the US alone, which shows you that Airbnb is still alive. So I don't know, does anyone know that you could actually rent a house and put it on Airbnb legally? A lot of people are surprised that you can actually do this. So it's exactly that. Airbnb arbitrage is when you rent a house and then you put on Airbnb, and then you profit the difference between the bookings and the rent. Oop. Nope. Airbnb arbitrage is powerful because you don't need a 20% down payment, hundreds of thousands of dollars like traditional real estate to get started. So if you don't have a real estate license or experience, you don't need any of that. As you know, that I was in tech as a designer, I had no experience and was able to generate 5 figures income per month. And it's not like flipping where you get one payout and then you're done. You get a recurring profit into your bank account every single month, coming in, as long as you have the place. And even Forbes says short-term rentals generate 30% more profit than long-term rentals. That's almost 2 to 3 times what you would be making on long-term rentals. Does anyone have any investment properties here or rentals? That's amazing. Yeah, so if you don't have it on Airbnb yet, I highly recommend. You make so much more money. And a lot of people might say, oh, it's too much work, and oh, I didn't do it because it was too much of my time, but there's actually a system that makes it passive for you. So you're only working a few hours a week. When you set up your system properly, everything is automated. So you might be wondering about the numbers. So on average, a single-family home, I do single-family because you make higher profits, you can get anywhere from about $4,000 to $12,000 a month per house. So you can see how quickly this can escalate when you just get multiple properties. And you can scale fast because it's low capital for each home. So for example, let's say you rent the house for $3,000 a month. You're going to pay that and your deposit of $3,000 a month, and then get your furniture, which a lot of people will do with credit. And so that could be, $10K, $12K, or if you put on credit, it's $0. And then your setup team, people that come set up your property. So you could get your first Airbnb for under $20,000, depending on the numbers. And this will quickly pay you back within about 4 to 6 months. So this is one of my properties in Texas. It wasn't a fancy house in a fancy neighborhood, and it generated $13,000 net on Airbnb in 1 month. And my rent was $4,000, so I profited $9,000 on this one house. And you can also get long-term bookings upwards of $20,000 in one payout. And so if your rent is $5,000, which this house in California was, the profit is $17,000 just on one house while you're in a conference, you're sleeping, you're golfing, you're living your life. For example, this is at Shane's mansion party a few months ago, and we were just having fun, talking, eating, and I checked my phone to see what time it was, and I thought, oh my God, I just got a payout of $20,000 while we're at this party just having fun. And so it's automated, it's just in the background. And 6 properties where 2 of them are ADUs and 1 bedrooms and the rest were houses generated $500,000 in 1 year passively. So I don't have a ton of time to go into the details, but I'm going to be having a workshop tomorrow going into the logistics of everything. But in general, you're going to have your assembly team, you're going to get your house, you're going to get your assembly team to set everything up, do the design. Design is key because you can make 30% more profit by having good design. And that's what I credit my properties profiting more is because of design. And then you're going to get your photography team, which isn't your cousin, your second cousin that just randomly got a new iPhone. You want to hire a photographer. And then you're going to create your system to scale, because once you have your system, you can take that anywhere across the world using that exact same system. So I was able to go from California to Texas and do the exact same thing and set it up within like a week. So you're going to have your virtual assistants that do your messaging, so you're not sitting there waking up at midnight to answer someone that's been locked out of the house. You're going to have your maintenance team just in case something goes wrong, which is not all the time. It's just someone there just in case. And then you're going to have your cleaning team come in for the cleaning, so you're not sitting there and cleaning the house. You're going to pair that with your automation tools of dynamic pricing, so you get the highest pricing for the area. It does it for you. You're going to have your communication system so that everyone is communicating with each other, and you're not working in your business, you're working on your business and living your life. So some things that you might have heard about Airbnb, well, Arbitrage specifically is different, is that you need long-term, you have to have a lot of capital to get started. You don't, obviously, because all you're really paying is the first and last month rent and the furniture. You can't, a lot of states don't allow it. A lot of states actually really are Airbnb friendly. Either they will allow it or they allow you to get a permit, which is pretty easy in a lot of places. There's so many places here in Georgia as well that are great for Airbnb. And a lot of people think, oh, it's too risky. Well, because you're leasing, you're not stuck in this house. So if it doesn't work, you can just get out of the lease. There's a way to get out of the lease and move your furniture to a different location. And people might think, oh, it's too saturated. Everyone's doing it. But it's actually quality over quantity, because if you are able to design it, you will profit very highly. Like even in Texas, I was able to go to a condensed city with so many Airbnbs and charge some of the highest rates because of the design. So who is Airbnb for? Airbnb is for anybody. Obviously, I'm one of the people that didn't know anything about it, and I was able to get started just by taking that coaching program. And it's crazy how fast you can generate profit, because when I said, I was Googling how to make a lot of money fast with the least amount of time, I really didn't think that was possible. And so when I found this, I'm like, this is crazy. It's been several years now. I'm like, this really works. It's for 9-to-5ers. I have a coaching program, everyone from lawyers who are working 60 hours a week to business owners that have families, people that are divorced trying to rebuild their life. I have couples that are coaching together because they both want to leave the 9-to-5 or they want to create generational wealth. And there's a stay-at-home parent that I have, and this is Erin, and she started with zero experience, had 5 kids, very, very busy life, and joined my coaching program. And within 4 months of joining, she surpassed $100,000 in bookings with Airbnb Arbitrage. And one of her bookings recently was a $20,000 booking during Coachella in California. And it's so awesome to see, that she did this. It just shows you anybody can do this. The thing that made her successful is that she actually learned everything from that program, the 6-week program, which is short, and she implemented. She took action, and she actually went out and did the work, and she got them pretty quickly. So Airbnb passive income hasn't just been a benefit financially. It's been such a huge benefit. I don't know if anyone does passive income right now, but it really adds to the quality of your life. It gives you generational wealth for your families to pass down, versus when I was in a 9-to-5, I felt like I was saving half my paycheck for retirement, or half of it was going to taxes. And there's ways to offset taxes with Airbnb. It's lower stress. You have more freedom to do what you want, travel the world, spend more time with your family. You're not in your desk job 40 plus hours a week like I was. And it's giving me so much time freedom that I just became so obsessed with mindset and being around like-minded people that I would go to so many different networking events like this, like you, and as you know, you just never know who's in the room and who's going to become your next partner. And I was able to meet Shane and some incredible people along the way, and that led to more opportunities of speaking on stage and doing podcasts. And little did I know that trying to make some passive income with this little side hustle that people thought I was crazy for saying yes to would lead to this moment. And hosting the Atlanta Real Estate Conference with Shane, who I really admire, and I never thought this would be my life. And it was all because of that one decision to say yes and take a risk and stop repeating the cycle. Thank you. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Oh, yes? Oh, thank you.
I'm going to be 8 for Q&A.
I did see on one of your slides that landlords would allow it, but do most landlords allow that kind of subletting? And if they found out that you're so successful, what would stop them from canceling your lease and doing it themselves?
That's such a good question. People ask me that a lot. So they do allow it. It's really in the way that you pitch it, because that's kind of what I'm teaching tomorrow too. There's a whole negotiation strategy, and you're saying it in a way where it benefits them. Because if it's a long-term tenant, you're not seeing your house for a year. Maybe you come in a year at the end of the lease, and the whole place is trashed, the walls are yellow, and there's holes everywhere. But if it's an Airbnb, you're an Airbnb company, your business depends on the success of the cleanliness, and it looks staged 24/7. So they really like that. And one of my landlords, all of the landlords have renewed every single year. And they're just like, are you going to renew again? And they're bringing their friends like, hey, I got a property. And some of them say, oh, I want to do this too, but I don't have time. And I think because they think it feels so intimidating that they just feel like, I just can't handle it right now. Yeah. Oh.
Hello.
Hi.
What are the different archetypes or people that do the subleasing? Like, are they real estate investors? Are they, just general people that move to another state and they have a property? Like, what are the different archetypes of the people that buy into this?
Oh, the people like me that would rent the place?
Like the people that you would, like, say if we wanted to start this, the people that we're going to negotiate with them to let us, lease their place out.
Yeah, it really ranges from so many different types of people, from 9 to 5. Like I was a 9 to 5er, I was in corporate, and my client was a stay-at-home mom. She wasn't working. Her husband was, but she wasn't working. So, and another person's like entrepreneur. They're business owners. So it's really all over the place.
Hi, nice to meet you. We have properties in Sebring, which is kind of in the middle of nowhere. So you had said that it doesn't matter where it's at. So how do you make something that's kind of in the middle of nowhere successful as an Airbnb?
Yeah, that's a good question too. There's actually a research tool that I'm going to be talking about tomorrow. So you really do your homework to make sure that that area will be profitable. And so I guess anywhere anywhere in the world, but you want to make sure that that city does really well. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Brandon.
Hi.
So I've looked into this before. The one thing that I didn't understand was as far as having it cleaned after the fact. So do you have staff that you hire, or how do you manage that part of it?
Yeah. So I have a dedicated cleaning team for each city. So there's a automated system that gives them notifications for when each person checks out. They'll get it, and then they'll go there and clean it. So it's all in a system.
All right, we got
so-
time for one more question. Sorry to
Okay.
interrupt.
Okay. I believe you answered my question based upon the type of people that actually start this business. My question is more geared towards, how do you find the people that have the properties?
Oh.
What are the archetype of those people?
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So you can go on any rental site like Zillow. Or you can ask agents. So it's almost like you're looking for a house to lease, let's say you're going to be a long-term tenant. It's the same thing.